In Shakespeare's time, the understanding of medicine and of the human body was based on the concept of the four humours, or fluids: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. These humours are connected to different organs within the body, and also to the elements of fire, air, earth, and water. The four humours affect the whole physiology and psychology of a person, forming one's personality. Blood warms the body, carrying the vital life force. If blood dominates, you'll be warm, joyous, optimistic, a sanguine temperament. Phlegm cools, moistens, lubricates the body. An excess of phlegm will lead to passivity, lethargy, sentimentality, a phlegmatic temperament. Yellow bile provokes, excites, and emboldens the passions. Also known as choler, it can be inflammatory, irritating, and volatile, a choleric temperament. Black bile has a retentive quality, strengthening and building the body's core. It can lead to introspection, melancholy, and withdrawal, a melancholic temperament. The humours affect your whole being, from your health and feelings through to your looks and your actions. The key to being in good health and being a good person is to keep these four humours in balance. However, the reality is that by nature we have one or more of these in excess, which makes us all different and unique, makes us all look different as well. So where do we begin with performing the masks of the temperaments? Let's begin with the melancholic. So the blue melancholic mask, connected to the element of the earth. As a performer, we're not working with the psychological melancholic state. We don't need to start by taking ourselves into a sad place. We're going to start with the physicality. So we're working from the outside in. We start with that connection with the earth, our feet on the earth, heavy, and feeling that weight all the way through the body. So that movement is quite laboured. And the breath is quite long, long in, long out. It's heavy to lift your feet, and they're carefully planted so that you really feel the earth beneath you. And then from above, feel that there's a pressure pushing down. So you're being pushed from below and above, almost being compressed, and your body is in between. And you have to become really aware of all your muscles and your bones. You become aware of every movement. And it's like you have a weight on your back. People talk about when you're sad and depressed that you're carrying baggage. It's like you're carrying that. Now literally try, imagine that you've got that weight of the world on your shoulders. Oh. And the voice comes from this breath. Oh, so much to do. Things to be done. I'll do it. I always do. Steady. Slow. Knowing. Constant. Firm. Sure. Thinking. In my head. Thinking. Now the melancholic isn't only melancholic all the time. Of course, every humour can change, can transform, and the masks become most interesting when we look at the transformation within them. the transformative power from the melancholic to a happier state. Ooh. Slightly lightened. Oh. Slightly airy. That lightness starts in our belly and starts to lift us ever so slightly. Oh, thank you. Just a little subtle change, but we have a little tiny bounce in our movement, and our chin lifts and our face lifts. The weight lifts. Oh. 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 The Choleric Mask is the element of fire. Red, hot, burning, consuming. This fire element is what we need to find as a performer. Again, you're not going to start from an angry place. I'm not asking you to think psychologically into a time where you've been angry or aggressive or fiery with somebody. We can find all that from the physicality. So rooting your feet on the ground, we need to imagine that concept of fire. That fire which is in your muscles, it burns inside. And there's a sense that you want to move that way, but you can't. And you want to keep your feet on the floor, but you can't because it's hot. And then take it down a little bit to make it more human-like, to make it more like the human, rather, is consumed by the fire. The fire comes inside you. We take it, that this fire is burning in you. This excitement, it's energy. It can be a positive energy, it can be a leader's quality, it can be the head of the pack. Come with me, follow me, I know where I'm going. But equally that fire can be aggressive and vicious and sharp. And we find it through the rhythm. And the breath is short, in and out. But what if we come to the counter mask for the choleric? Is the choleric ever afraid? What if suddenly this character realised there was more to the world than just themselves? Stopped being so self-centred and realised that there's other people out there. And maybe that makes you afraid. And this fear starts to come in. We look at different tension states in the body. We go from tense with the arms, the body's tense, I tense in my stomach, tense in the legs, tense in the jawline, to a slight softening and a fear. I need to protect them all, but I don't know how. Slightly lost, no longer the leader. And we see this choleric change. The green phlegmatic. It is the element of water that we're connected to with this character. The fluidity, the languidity of water. If someone's phlegmatic, it's a sense of having fluid moving within them. So there's a floating to it. There's a sense of everything is constant, nothing is changing its rhythm. It keeps a constant melodic state. Could be lazy, languid. So we start again feeling the earth, but this time feeling the kind of softness, almost like you're melting into it. And with each movement, it's longer out breaths, shorter in breaths. Sinking, feeling heaviness. But it's a different heaviness from the melancholic. It's not the weight of the world. It's almost being lifted up by the world. Almost like there's a bit of a bounce in your step. this character might be rather large and bouncy. Oh, he might be a jolly character, but he doesn't do anything too quickly. Oh, yes, just take it in my own time, at my own pace. I'll just have a little bit of a rest for a while. Oh, feeling a bit sleepy. Oh. But the countermask for this phlegmatic, sleepy, languid, lazy water character. What happens if they're asked to do something suddenly? Somebody says, but you've got to do it. You're the only one who can. Oh, they're pulled out of this watery state. Well, I don't know if I really, can I? Me? You want me to do it? I don't know if I can. I'm not sure. So there's a confused state, but the rhythm is changing. The rhythm isn't that fluid, there's a jerkiness to it. Oh, and just with that change in the physical body, we start to see the different emotion coming through, and there's conflict. He wants to be lazy, but he's got to keep moving. The yellow sanguine, the element of air, the light playfulness of air, not a care in the world. The sanguine is genuinely happy. This is your most cheerful friend. Always has something bright to say, always a way to cheer you up. The sanguine has a spring in their step. The movement's quite erratic. The in-breath is longer than the out-breath. Excitement. There's always something to be taken by surprise. Yes, and yes. Oh, and that too. The genuine happiness of the sanguine. This movement, feeling the jerkiness in the body. Feeling light under your feet, like you're bouncing off the earth. Oh, every muscle can move around separately. Oh, and your joints are quite free. Your body's quite supple and can flows around. What if we come to the countermask for the sanguine? When we start to look at the countermask for these characters, we start to realise that we start to discover bits of ourselves in them. We discover the person who is happy-go-lucky, but occasionally is very sad. And when sadness comes into this character, it's all the more profound. The sadness of this character is unexpected. The sadness seeps in slowly, and we see a slow transition. It's almost like we see the air being pulled out of a balloon. The air's gone out of the wings. Something sad has happened that is so profoundly deep that it's heartbreaking. And again, the sanguine's body is kind of lost in this, I want to be light and airy, but there's something dragging me down. And you've got this counter pull in the character mask as you're performing. This counter pull of, I want to be up there, but I'm feeling dragged down by the weight of this sadness. These techniques are a way to connect physically with a character, helping an actor to find movement and characteristics from the visceral core, where a temperament starts. By exaggerating these in the rehearsal room, through the use of masks, an actor experiences them in the body, and words are found at this heightened state. When it comes to performance, even though the movement may be more reined in and constrained, the words are still imbued with a gravitas because they've been so deeply embodied. Shakespeare frequently described characters in relation to the humours. A play would begin with a leading character who has an excess in one of the humours. In comedies, the characters learn, develop, and find humoral balance, bringing about a happy ending. For example, in Midsummer Night's Dream, it begins with many fiery emotions and characters clashing temperaments, but by the end, they all find a balance. The temperaments are brought into check and contentment is found. In tragedies, the excess builds up, leading to more and more extreme behaviour until all hope of balance is completely lost. King Lear is a fine example of how the temperaments can completely take over a character, leading to apparent madness.
Blow, winds,
blow, winds,
crack your cheeks,
crack your cheeks,
crack your cheeks, rage, blow, blow, rage, you cataracts and hurricanes, spout until you have drenched our steeples, drowned our cocks, you sulphurous and thought-executing fires, vaunt couriers of oak-cleaving thunderbolts, singe my white head, and thou, all shaking thunder, strike flat the rotundity of the world.
The temperament masks are really interesting to play with because they really tap into a very human psyche. They're much more connected to us as people than any other mask. They're much more realistic than any other, I believe. We start to recognise elements of ourself in them. We start to realise, oh, I'm choleric. That's my predominant feature, my predominant temperament. But there's also other elements in there. And when I play with these masks, I start to discover parts of me, parts of my psyche, and they're interesting to play in different moods and how that counter mask changes. It's a great way into exploring really deep characters, and you can get again into the psychology of the character, but without having to put yourself into a really sad place. You're playing it on the outside. So this is mask work, it's performing from the outside in. And you can take that mask off and leave that emotion behind in the rehearsal room.